Tonight, grief and rage in Pakistan. An important voice for change is silenced. Former Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto assassinated, her last image waving to a throng of supporters. An instant later, gunned down and struck by a suicide bomb. For the U.S., a new challenge, keeping a key ally on the war on terror, one that's armed with nuclear weapons, from descending into chaos. I'm Russ Mitchell. Also tonight, zoos take another look at security following this week's deadly tiger mauling in San Francisco. As new evidence emerges that the victims may have provoked the attack. And the candidates' secret weapons, their daughters.
I get a straight talk from my daughter.
This is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric.
And good evening. Katie is off tonight. It happened in an instant, but the consequences may be felt for years. Pakistan's former Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto was assassinated today. Her death is a major blow to U.S. efforts to bring stability to that volatile region. President Pervez Musharraf immediately put security on red alert. There is no word yet on whether next month's parliamentary elections will go on, but another former Prime Minister, Nawaz Sharif, said his party would boycott them. President Bush blamed the attack on extremists trying to undermine democracy in Pakistan. The Bush administration had played a key role in pushing for reconciliation between Bhutto and Musharraf, who were bitter enemies. Richard Roth begins our coverage.
With shock and anger feeding fires in Pakistan tonight, a police official says the assassination's fueling trouble almost everywhere. Her campaign rally in a park outside the capital had just ended, and Benazir Bhutto was buoyant, waving to supporters as she stepped down from the podium. In her bulletproof car, the rooftop hatch was opened. She wanted to wave once more. Aides said that's when gunfire struck. She fell to her seat, and then from the left, an explosion. A suicide attacker, perhaps the gunman himself, detonating a powerful bomb. Hit in the head and chest by bullets or shrapnel or both, Bhutto lost consciousness, aides said, and never regained it. In the chaos of a crowd of people stunned, wounded, or killed by the bomb, there were cries for help as Bhutto was carried to another car. Hers couldn't move. And at the hospital soon after, a wail of despair when her death was announced. Just after she'd come back to Pakistan from exile last October, Bhutto escaped injury when a rally was bombed. Complaining the government was deliberately doing too little to help her stay safe, she was asked about quitting her election campaign.
Well, of course, campaigning now is so difficult. I don't think so much of myself, but I think of the people who lost their lives. I've just got the figures.
So you can't do it?
No, we have to do it.
A graduate of Radcliffe and Oxford, Benazir Bhutto was the daughter of Pakistan's first democratically elected prime minister. His ouster in a military coup helped make her the public symbol of opposition to the generals running the country, who she said hadn't even let her embrace her father in prison.
I said that I'd like to hug my father goodbye. He'd been the president, the prime minister. He'd brought them back from the camps of India. They wouldn't even open the cell doors for me to kiss him goodbye.
And her father's execution in 1979 made her a politician.
People say time is a great healer. I don't know. Time passes. I guess one goes on with life, but I don't know how much it heals.
She was controversial, a populist elected prime minister twice, but a polarizing figure in national politics, whose honesty in office came under serious question. Critics called her arrogant and corrupt. Yet as a Western-educated woman with a broad base of power in an Islamic country, she won backing from Washington and London. In her return to Pakistan this year, the policy hope was that she'd help cool Islamic militants and help promote democracy.
We have to find a way to go to the public, and I've been talking to the party people, and most of them feel that we can't stop going to the public. Democracy is about going to the public.
Benazir Bhutto.
Pakistan's President Musharraf didn't say if he'll now call off elections planned for next month. Mourning his rival, he blamed her death on terrorists. A claim has come from al-Qaeda, but a feeling that Musharraf's government shares the blame for Bhutto's death, whoever pulled the trigger, is widespread among her followers, who make up the country's biggest political party, now with just a coffin to support. Asked once if her life was like a drama, Bhutto said she hoped not, and added, "Don't dramas end in tragedy?" Tonight, the question's hanging over the whole country. Richard Roth, CBS News, London.
Violence is certainly not new to Pakistan. The attack on Bhutto took place in the same park where Pakistan's first prime minister was assassinated some 56 years ago. The Bush administration has spent $10 billion since 9/11 to bolster security and democracy in Pakistan. Now it may be back to square one. Wyatt Andrews continues our coverage.
10 days before her probable election, Benazir Bhutto was already among the most important leaders in the world. It was she who would legitimize a fair election in Pakistan. She was pro-reform, anti-terror, and for the most part, pro-American. A grim-looking President Bush expressed sorrow not just for her family, but for democracy itself.
The United States strongly condemns this cowardly act by murderous extremists who are trying to undermine Pakistan's democracy.
In Afghanistan, President Karzai, who met with Bhutto just hours before her death, described her as a martyr for democracy. Around the world, it was as if a promising moment in history had just slipped away.
This is a sad day for democracy. It's a tragic hour for Pakistan.
Bhutto, despite a record of corruption and a thirst for power, was genuinely popular in Pakistan, mostly in the southern province of Sindh. But her populist message also earned her an estimated 35% to 40% approval overall. She was hated, however, in the northwest frontier, along the Afghan border, a 1,500-mile stretch where tribal leaders, al-Qaeda and the Taliban hold sway. Bhutto had promised to chase down the terrorist here, including Osama bin Laden, in a way President Musharraf never would or could.
Benazir Bhutto was the most vigorous in her expression, clarity in saying that she would go after al-Qaeda and go after the extremist. You don't hear any other candidates say that with the same aggressiveness that she did, and that is possibly why she was the first to be targeted.
Bhutto had more enemies than just al-Qaeda. She had denounced the Pakistani intelligence service. She was at arm's length with the army, and she had defied emergency rule under Musharraf. To her supporters, the list of suspects in her death is endless, and the risk right now is uncontrolled rage on the streets.
We have to watch, particularly along the border regions in Peshawar, as well as in Lahore and Karachi, is how many people come out in the streets, how much anger there is.
For the U.S., a destabilizing Pakistan is a double threat. Street violence could derail the elections and could make vulnerable Pakistan's nuclear arsenal. Defense officials tell correspondent David Martin they are physically watching Pakistan's nukes.
The Pakistanis are believed to have between 50 and 75 nuclear weapons. They're stored in facilities which the U.S. helped to design to make as secure as possible. The weapons consist of bombs for aircraft and warheads for missiles, but they're stored in a disassembled form as an additional fail-safe.
Pakistan has long been the true front line in the global war on terror, a place where secular Democrats were confronting the religious extremists by trying to stage a free election. Now the most popular of the secular Democrats is dead. Wyatt Andrews, CBS News, Washington.
The Bhutto assassination figured in the presidential campaign today as all of the candidates began their day commenting on the events in Pakistan. And it dominates our CBS News Campaign 08 notebook. Hillary Clinton spoke of her personal relationship with Bhutto and her family during the 8 years that Bhutto spent in exile, while other candidates talked about how they would react to Bhutto's death if they were president today.
It's a tragic situation, and our heart goes out to the families. We have to send a message that we stand strong with the Pakistani people in moving a democratic process forward. But we have to continue to press to deal with this ongoing chaotic situation with the militants in Pakistan. They pose a greater danger to world security over the long term than Iraq ever did.
The first thing I would do is to redouble our efforts there, to sit down with the military leaders and see what kind of a situation we're in, how can we deal with it, what can we do, do we have to put more forces in there, help them to get to the bottom of what happened so we have a real answer to this, an answer to what's going on. It's just tragic to think that a woman who was trying so hard to put put together a rule of law, put together a democracy, had this happen to her.
I think as a presidential candidate and as President of the United States, the single most important thing is just to show that we remain strong and we remain principled and we stand for the principle of democratization. And that's the way you provide stability in a country like Pakistan. And Musharraf gets a great deal of money from the United States of America, and we can use that leverage to push him in the right direction. It's important, if he wants to continue to receive that aid, that he ensure that there are open, fair elections, that the people of Pakistan are heard in those elections, and that they move toward open, free, and democratic government. And they have significant work to do in that regard.
I don't know what's going to happen in Pakistan right now. I do know that since they are a nuclear-armed state, since they are our key ally in Afghanistan, where we've been having difficulties, as you know, that this is a very tense and difficult time. I hope that we can see the unrest subside. I hope that we can see the commitment again of Musharraf for fair and free elections. And obviously, one of the keys to this is going to be law and order.
Senior political correspondent Jeff Greenfield is in Des Moines tonight. And Jeff, there is one school of thought that the news from Pakistan could actually help some candidates while hurting others. Do you agree?
Yeah, remember, since this wasn't a direct attack on Americans, the impact we're talking about is likely marginal and probably would help those with national security profiles like Senator McCain, perhaps Rudy Giuliani, as opposed to, say, a Mike Huckabee. Among Democrats, Joe Biden's talked a lot about the dangers in Pakistan. Hillary Clinton's been talking about who you want in the Oval Office should something unpredictable happen. And for its part, the Obama campaign said today that, well, she voted for the war in Iraq, which took our eye off the ball in that region where the Taliban and al-Qaeda have gained strength. So that's the play of it so far here, Russ.
Jeff, historically, what have these major world events done to U.S. presidential contests?
They tend to move voters toward the safe, the familiar. After the hostages were seized in 1979, Jimmy Carter gained temporary benefit in his primary fight against Ted Kennedy. The release of the bin Laden video at the end of the 2004 campaign, it's thought, probably helped President Bush in his fight against John Kerry. But as I say, we're talking about a marginal impact, I think, given the lack of direct American involvement here, Russ.
Jeff Greenfield in Des Moines, thank you so much. And the Iowa caucuses are now just 1 week away. Not surprisingly, 8 of the candidates were in the state today. But we had to travel 1,500 miles from Iowa to find one of the frontrunners. Rudy Giuliani is spending lots of time in Florida, and so is national correspondent Byron Pitts.
Hi, how are you? Hi, Mr. Giuliani. Today in sunny Fort Lauderdale, Rudy Giuliani campaigned as if the Florida primary was next week.
Good to see you. Always campaigning.
Well, sure. I mean, we're getting near the end now, right? And perhaps he has to.
Here's something I've heard from people who support you in Iowa and New Hampshire. And this is a quote. Why has Rudy Giuliani written off New Hampshire and Iowa?
We haven't. We've had a proportionate strategy in that we've tried to spend time in all of the states. I see it as a 9-inning game. And in the 9-inning game...
But don't you have to play the first 3?
Sure, we have. We've been in Iowa quite a bit. We've been in Hampshire even more than Iowa. We think this strategy fit our campaign.
What do you mean by fit? Rudy Giuliani doesn't fit in Iowa?
No, fit meaning what the resources we had, what was available to us to accomplish, how we thought the election would play out. This seemed to be the strategy that fit this particular election.
Can I get a picture with you?
You can get a picture with me.
That's not how they see it in New Hampshire.
I think Giuliani has basically written New Hampshire off.
That from a Giuliani supporter, Republican Marshall Cobley. New Hampshire's former Speaker of the House, he fears his man has lost momentum.
But I think he's got horrible national strategy.
If not horrible, analysts call it dangerous.
The Giuliani campaign is nervous and worried, and they should be. Either Giuliani wins Florida and catapults himself into the super-duper primaries on February 5th, or it's over.
Is Florida make or break for you?
Florida is important.
At this late date, he has no other choice. He'll either be the front runner or a footnote. Byron Pitts, CBS News, Fort Lauderdale.
There is more CBS News ahead. Up next, new developments in the deadly mauling at San Francisco Zoo, including evidence that the victims may have provoked the tiger. Today, the director of the San Francisco Zoo admitted the wall that keeps his tigers penned in is shorter than called for in national guidelines. A Siberian tiger escaped 2 days ago, killing one visitor and injuring 2 others. The latest now from John Blackstone.
With new scrutiny on the safety and wisdom of keeping tigers in captivity, zoos everywhere are watching what happens in San Francisco. Zoo officials now admit their big cat enclosure appeared to be no match for the determined tiger.
She had to have jumped. How she was able to jump that high is amazing to me, but you know, it's an exotic animal.
While the tiger enclosure built 60 years ago meets federal regulations, it falls short of standards for modern zoos. It has a dry moat 33 feet wide with a 12-foot, 5-inch high wall. But National Zoo guidelines call for walls of at least 16 feet 4 inches. Investigators are trying to determine if one of the tiger's victims climbed over a railing around the enclosure.
There is a shoe print on the railing.
The zoo will now install new wire and electric fencing around the tiger exhibit. For zoos everywhere, there are likely to be new calculations about what it takes to keep both tigers and people where they belong.
I can tell you that most likely when that tiger was out of his exhibit, it was extremely alarmed, very, very nervous, and it was trying to eliminate any threat around it. And it looks as humans as threat.
More than 150 million people visit American zoos every year. That's more than 10 professional baseball, basketball, football, and NASCAR combined. And big cats are a big draw. For all their ferociousness, there are now more tigers in captivity than there are in the wild. But most of them are not in zoos. They're in private ownership, kept as dangerous pets.
In most states, it's more difficult to get a license for your dog than have a lion or a tiger living in your backyard.
Actress Tippi Hedren runs a sanctuary for big cats that were once pets but can never be released into the wild.
There isn't a sane reason to have a lion or a tiger as a pet.
Zoo visitors, however, expect to see dangerous animals up close, but they don't expect to be in danger themselves. John Blackstone, CBS News, San Francisco.
Also in the West, another snowstorm is leaving more travelers stranded. United Airlines canceled 168 flights nationwide today because of snow in Denver, its second largest hub. The storm is expected to dump 8 inches of new snow in Colorado. And we'll be back. It can be said that politics is a family affair. Now, more than ever, key roles are being played by the candidates' children, especially their daughters. Here's Nancy Cordes.
I am a continuing source of embarrassment to her.
23-year-old Meghan McCain is a permanent fixture on her 71-year-old father's Straight Talk Express.
I get straight talk from my daughter.
Like what?
Anything I do wrong.
Meghan's blog, McCainblogette.com, chronicles her life on the road.
I saw that you had a tattoo contest. We did.
The decidedly lighter side of politics.
Did you ever consider not playing a role on the campaign? You know, when you hear criticism about my dad's age, I was like, please, you know, I'll show everyone how much it doesn't matter.
My actual title is the National Field Director.
Her name is Sarah Huckabee. She left a promising job in Washington to join her father, Mike Huckabee's campaign, back when there were just a handful of staffers.
You know, I probably do get away with saying things that most other field directors can't say to their candidates, like, no, you will not wear that tie ever again.
There are about 24 adult children campaigning with their parents this presidential election season. 5 of them are young women in their 20s whose ability to turn out voters like them could make the difference in a tight race.
I think you can connect with them and relate with them in ways that maybe our fathers and mothers might not be able to.
John Edwards' daughter, Kate, speaks at colleges around the country.
That's one of the things that Dad will certainly consider.
When she isn't studying, she's a second-year law student at Harvard.
It can be really overwhelming.
The daughters of presidents and presidential candidates have always found themselves in the spotlight, even when they sought to avoid it.
My daughter, Chelsea Clinton.
Chelsea Clinton only occasionally joins her mother on the trail and in ads. Rudy Giuliani's estranged 18-year-old daughter, Caroline, never appears with her father and briefly endorsed Obama. He told Katie Couric it shouldn't matter.
I don't think there's anything special about a politician's relationship with their children, except maybe for a high-profile person and sometimes the problems that creates.
Is it hard to hear people say negative things about your dad when you're on the campaign trail?
I think it was at first, but you get used to it. It's politics.
And it is a contact sport.
And I just kind of want to show young women out there that, like, politics is fun and interesting, and just because, like, you know, you read the New York Times doesn't mean you can't watch The Hills, you know what I mean?
Still, with so much at stake, these three say they're willing to work in the spotlight and in the trenches. Nancy Cordes, CBS News in Iowa, Massachusetts, and New Hampshire.
An update on the Bhutto assassination when we come back. Recapping our top story now, the assassination of Pakistan's former Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto. Her last image waving to supporters before being hit by bullets and shrapnel from a suicide bomb. Her death is a major blow to efforts to restore stability to Pakistan. Tomorrow, her husband will bury her in her hometown. She also leaves behind 3 children. And that's the CBS Evening News. For Katie Couric, I'm Russ Mitchell. Good night.
For news 24 hours a day, click on CBSNews.com.